parts of the world. So if you're in London, it's going to be 9 p.m. If you're in Paris, it'll be 10 p.m., I think, or I'm not sure if daylight savings time has started there yet. But anyway, thereabouts. If you're on the east coast of Australia, it's going to be 8 a.m. tomorrow. So it's a good time for everyone to get together. We kind of just moved the dial around to make it that way. Adelaide, okay, cool. Okay, Savannah, Georgia, so you're on East Coast time. 7:30 a.m. Thursday, okay. Okay, Judith, you're saying you aren't getting sound. I'm just typing in here. Anyone else not getting sound?
So on your microphone icon in the bottom, if you click the little up caret, you might have to select your microphone and your speaker. You might have to play with those settings. It'd be tough to troubleshoot 500 to 1,000 people, but.
Yes, if you looked at the bottom left-hand corner, click on mic, and like I have 2 or 3 different mic options, because I have 2 or 3 different mics I can use. So I just choose the one that I want to use. And if all else fails, if you have an internal microphone, just revert to that, because the sound quality is usually fine that way. Bonjour, Quebec. One of the things my wife, Christine, and I are doing to amuse ourselves at dinner time, because of course we're having a romantic dinner. And usually we have a romantic dinner on Fridays, maybe Saturdays. Now we're having a romantic dinner on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. You get to have the same date with the same person every day. So one of the things we're doing to make it funner, is we have iPads. We have these just old iPads we had laying around the house, like 4 or 5 years old, not used for anything else. But we set them up, and then we have Google Translate on them. And so we've been wanting to learn French for a long time. And so my wife says something to me, and I say, "Je parle pas anglais. Je parle pas anglais. I don't speak any English." So she has to grab her iPad and then type it in there and read it to me in French. And I do the same thing, and I type it into the iPad and read it to her in French. So we have this really wacky conversation. And there are only so many times you can say, "The steak tastes delicious." So then you run out of things to talk about. Then you have to start looking out the window and talking about things out the window. Then you have to try and talk about things that are kind of abstract concepts. And so it is so fun. And you can find all kinds of ways of having fun like that. Okay, it's 5 after, so we'll start here in a moment. Let's just see. Okay, it looks like most people now are getting video and sound. I forget who it was had no sound. If you can just post again, if you don't have sound, let's make sure we really, I want every single person to hear and see. Oh, good, okay, Judith, great. So let's begin the way we begin many of our community calls in our various special programs, like for certification or relationships or weight loss. We just sit together, and even though we are a virtual community, we're not an actual physical community, but in the realm of energy and in the realm of non-local mind, we're all one. So it's wonderful just to sit here, and even though we're apart physically, to really tune in to being one. And so just breathe deeply, feel that oneness, and imagine us all in a great big circle. If we were a tribe 10,000 years ago, and there was a crisis in our environment and a predator and a threat, we'd all be sitting in a circle, we'd all be breathing together, we'd all be sharing. So let's just take those breaths and really tune in to being one. We are one. I'm feeling the energy of this beautiful group of people just flowing through my heart. And I'm imagining the energy flowing through all of our hearts, connecting us. And as I breathed, I could really feel it there in my heart. It felt wonderful. So I wanted to do this call together for a few reasons. And one is this whole phenomenon of social isolation. We have, my wife and I live on a little courtyard with 4 houses, and our neighbors are 90 years old. And they've really been having a hard time. They feel in this time of social isolation, they just feel so alone. And it's really been touching to us to see how that even though we're checking in on them on a regular basis, the mother next to us goes to the store every couple of days, and she's picking up food sometimes for us, sometimes for them. We share these resources that way, and yet it really is affecting them psychologically in a pretty profound way. Most of us aren't used to being alone at home with our spouse all the time or with our kids. We were doing a call last night for our relationship program, and we had a mom in Australia with her 3 kids and then her husband. And so the schools are being closed in Darwin, where she lives. And she was saying, we were just working with her a little bit on the whole idea of having all 3 kids at home. How would that be for her? So it's placing, I mean, you love your kids. I love mine. If you have kids, I'm sure you love yours. And yet the intensity, especially of having 3 young kids in your space, can be really psychologically intense because they bring so much energy. If you have elderly people in your home or in your environment, maybe people suffering from cognitive decline, maybe they aren't as mentally sharp as they used to be, maybe they're confused, maybe they're anxious, then that can impinge upon you as well. And what my wife and I have found is that even though we're 2 separate people, we're responsible for ourselves and we're adults fully in charge of our own lives, that being part of a couple, that our energy bleeds through into the other person's awareness. And so if I'm out of sorts, if I'm not feeling good, I can very easily let that um, that energy dislocation, it just affects my wife. So if this were a client, if this was somebody I was working with, it wouldn't affect me. But if it's my wife, it does affect her. So other people's energy can bleed into your energy sphere and really affect you if you're in close proximity with them. So how do you keep those energetic boundaries there, especially when you're thrown together with people all the time? And then isolation by itself has been studied extensively. And the researchers have found that a sense of loneliness is an extremely high risk factor for disease and also affects people epigenetically. In one study by a researcher called Stephen Cole, he found that 33 genes were changed adversely by loneliness. Lonely people have these 33 genes differently expressed, and that contributed to their sense of physical malaise. They didn't do as well physically in terms of being able to have strong immune systems and deal with disease. I noticed, Ingrid, you're making notes over there, and the reference is Cole, S-C-O-L-E. The researcher's first name is Stephen, and then a whole bunch of other people as well that were in on that study. But the bottom line of all of that research is that loneliness and a sense of isolation isn't just psychological, it's physical, producing epigenetic changes in the body, and those changes aren't good. Now, the good news is that, as we all know, that meditation produces epigenetic changes in the body, and they are good. We changed various genes by meditating. We changed many genes by tapping. In one landmark study, the researcher, brilliant researcher, she found that compared to a control group, that an hour of tapping produced changes in 72 genes, including those that upregulate immunity, upregulate cell repair, upregulate cognitive function, upregulate cell metabolism, upregulate cell communication, downregulate throat cancer, downregulate breast cancer, downregulate prostate cancer, downregulate rectal cancer. So all of these cancers are controlled And that was in 1 hour of a really thorough tapping session with a therapist in that case. But of course, you can't go see your therapist very easily now. Maybe your therapist does remote sessions, phone sessions. Maybe he or she doesn't. But what do you do? So people are feeling just weird. You're just feeling, plain weird. I don't know how long it's been for you. I know that in some places it's only been 1 or 2 days people have had this enforced isolation. For us here in California, it's a week. They're saying that the end date is April 27th. And I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that we are going to be out of the woods by April 27th. I think if you look at the progression of the virus in China, I first became aware of a problem there in December because I was teaching an online course in China. So 6 p.m. here Pacific time where I am, 10 a.m. in China. And after the first week or two of the course in mid-December, I could just tell something was really wrong with my audience in China because there were thousands of people signed up for some of these live classes, and then the organizer told me they were having this disruption because of the virus, and that got progressively worse. Eventually, I actually made that meditation that many of you have seen. Actually, my original impulse for doing that was for the people in China, so it went there first, and that's that fear of infectious disease video that so many of you have seen. We'll drop a link over here in the chat box in case you haven't seen it. Also, if you don't know how to use chat, just click on the little chat icon at the bottom there, and then it'll open a chat window on the side, and you can go ahead and chat with everyone else there. But anyway, so then in January, of course, we all knew it was a real problem. In February, a serious problem. And then it's began to spread to other parts of the world, especially Italy, South Korea. South Korea did an absolutely brilliant job of testing and tracking people. I mean, South Korea did just a remarkable job of coping with the outbreak. And then just in the last few days, we've had reports from China that there are no new cases of the virus. So if you count the weeks there, mid-December, mid-January, mid-February, mid-March, it's 3 months. And I can't predict the future, but that's why I'm just saying that here in California, they said go into isolation, I think on March 19th, and they're saying it'll be over by April 7th. I'm saying that that 3-month window, probably mid-February, mid-March, mid-April, mid-May, to perhaps mid-June is far more likely. So just that's my kind of private guessing. So we've had to adapt here in various ways. As you'll notice on the EFT Universe website, all of our classes have been canceled. I was supposed to do a workshop at Omega Institute. That was canceled. At New York Open Center, that was canceled. The HEAL Congress in Germany, this massive conference in Germany, unfortunately, we had to cancel that. Another workshop in Paris, France, a workshop in Switzerland was canceled. Our various certified trainers, who are remarkable people and amazing trainers, they've had to cancel workshops now through June, and maybe we'll have to go through July. However, when I've been talking to people like Donna Eden and David Feinstein and Mike Dooley, so Mike is doing his annual conference in November, and we think that's going to happen. David and Donna are doing their annual conference in September. I'll be doing a keynote speech there. I'll also be doing a 4-day live EFT workshop there with real people in the real room, I think. So the best guess is that we'll be back to doing real workshops probably by August, September timeframe. That's the best too. Yeah, Saskia. Yeah, the Germany workshops were all canceled, including the one that was supposed to happen in a few weeks in Switzerland. So they're no longer happening. Now we are doing some online things, and we're just figuring out what those will be. And in fact, we're going to do one not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, and we'll announce that on Tuesday. And that's a really short time. You never normally put together a weekend on a Wednesday, announce it on the following Tuesday, and do it the following weekend. But we were doing that because no one else has anything better to do. We're all at home. So we're just going to do a weekend. That's April 4th and 5th. We're going to do a weekend where we seek to replicate the weekend at Esalen that we did 3 years ago, that showed that weekend's meditations raised immunoglobulins by 27%. So we're going to try and recreate the SLN workshop in a virtual format. You can join from anywhere on the weekend of April 4th and 5th. So we're just trying in every way to respond to people's concerns and do things that really, really help, really do make a difference. We know from research that tapping raises your immunoglobulins. And immunoglobulins are really cool molecules. They're shaped like a Y. And we've all seen pictures of the coronavirus. It's this round, virus. It's actually just a one layer of molecule thick lipid. It's a lipid. It's a fat molecule surrounding the coronavirus. That's why anything kills it. Any solvent just zaps it because it's just a fat. It just dissolves if you use anything. So it's a lipid. It's a lipid membrane. Inside is a single strand of RNA, with which it wreaks its havoc inside your cells. And then there are these little spikes sticking up out of the virus, and that's why it's called coronavirus, like a crown, because of all these little things that stick out of it called spikes. And those spikes on the coronavirus bind to receptor sites on your cells, and then they bind to those receptor sites, break through into the cell. That RNA then replicates inside the cell, produces millions more viruses, and that's how you get infected and how the infection spreads. And this is all coronaviruses. I mean, there are just hundreds of different kinds of coronaviruses. The SARS-CoV-2 is just one of many different viruses. So what these immunoglobulins do is there are these little spikes that stick out of the coronavirus. And what immunoglobulins do is they attach to those spikes. These are the antibodies your body makes naturally. Your body naturally makes antibodies, billions of them, all the time. They're in your saliva, they're in your mucous membranes, they're in your sinuses, and those antibodies literally bind to those spikes on coronaviruses. And once they bound to those spikes, then the coronavirus can't attach to the cell anymore. Nothing for it to attach to. And then there's a little signaling molecule at the back of the signaling element at the back of the immunoglobulin, and that signals your immune system to come and zap that virus. So immunoglobulins are super important. That's why older people die in the current pandemic, and children have very few symptoms because children's levels of immunoglobulins and antibodies and their immune systems generally are really, really at peak, whereas they're low for older people. So anyway, you want to boost immunoglobulins, and those two studies showed that a weekend of eco-meditation plus tapping, we were tapping a lot in that weekend, boosted immunoglobulins by 27%. And then the week-long workshop we did at Esalen did a lot of EFT, mostly EFT, but eco-meditation in the morning, people's levels of immunoglobulins rose by 113%. A more than doubling of immunoglobulins. So we're really motivated to get this information to people because it's something you can do. Are there other things you can do? Absolutely. Follow all the public health advice. Don't go within 6 feet of each other or 2 meters of each other. Stay away from other people, even if you think they're healthy or think you're healthy. Don't congregate in groups. Wash your hands frequently, because again, any kind of soap or alcohol or anything like that destroys that fatty membrane around the virus. Follow all of those public health recommendations because they're simple and they're sound. Again, using hand sanitizers whenever necessary. If you think you've touched something someone else has touched, like I went for a walk the other day, I touched the railing in the park, so I wiped my hands afterwards and used hand sanitizer. Follow all those recommendations. So while you're doing all of these things, though, meditate, use eco-meditation, and then tap. Sandy's asking, how is that tested? Did everyone do daily blood work? No, Sandy, we did saliva work. These are salivary immunoglobulins, and they're my favorite kind of immunoglobulin because they're a double molecule. All the other immunoglobulins, immunoglobulin G, regular immunoglobulin A, they're a single Y-shaped protein. Salivary immunoglobulins are two of them joined together in the middle. They're a double helping of immunoglobulins, so they can utilize two viruses at the same time. So again, my current favorite molecule of the month, salivary immunoglobulin A. And we tested people's saliva before and after. That's also how we tested salivary cortisol. And again, I'll get more into this later on when I talk about, not today, but in later emails, I'll give you more of this, like in next Tuesday's newsletter. So that's the take-home message here. Do everything that you're being recommended to do, and also tap and meditate. So what I like us to tap on now together is some of our very worst fears. And I want you just to type them into the chat and share them with us. What's the worst thing that could happen? Like one lady on another call last week said, my worst fear is I'll die alone in my apartment and no one will know, and my body will sit there like growing moldy for a month. You know, that was her fear. Now, of course, it's not going to happen, but that was her fear, and I so respected her for saying that. And we all tapped on it together. And of course, after tapping, she said, "That's ridiculous." So, okay, so Christina saying, my beloved husband, 17, my dad, die of it. Can't be with a family member if they get sick in a different location. Okay, I'm about a 5 on that one myself. Okay, craziness of other people buying everything and there being less provisions for other people. People I know getting super sick. Hunger and thirst in humanity. Needing a ventilator. Stuck in a hospital alone on a ventilator. My boyfriend who has COPD and not interested in tapping will die of it. No family or friends. Not being able to pay the bills. Fear of passing on to my 84-year-old mom. My son has asthma and is married to a nurse who works at the Evergreen Hospital in Kirkland, Washington. My dad is my mom's career. Let's just breathe again and just hold everyone who's typing everything into chat in our hearts. You know, before we even do anything on the physical level, let's just be in energy in the heart and love the people who are sharing their fears here. Families have to stay apart for the long term. Supply lines will break down and I won't be able to get food. Financial loss. Catch it when someone drops our grocery shopping off or from them or the packages, because recent research shows it can live on cardboard for several hours. Society will break down. It'll be like living in a war zone. I'm worried about getting food if things are worse. I'm 71. Depression over job loss, hundreds of thousands of death. I'm a nurse, fear of spreading it to my loved ones. Fear of inadvertently passing it along as a carrier. Worried about my daughter and the police on the front line, economic crash, uncertainty. Will lose all my savings and retirement fund. Things won't change after this is over. That's a really good one, Trace. Big hugs. I wish I could give you one, but I can't. Trace was at the very last EFT workshop at 1440 Multiversity, and we had some really deep conversations. Huge numbers of people hungry and homeless. I'm already chronically sick and asthmatic and end up in hospital with regular flu, so I'm really scared. By the way, Melinda, again, there are a whole lot of coronaviruses. Flus are too, and immunoglobulins work on different ones. Now, we have to, once you encounter a new strain, your body has to tweak those molecules and make them work for that strain. That's why it takes a while to build up immunity to a new flu strain or a new coronavirus. More afraid of the government taking advantage of this lockdown, worldwide depression, becoming homeless. My daughter works in a hospital without proper protection, only 1 mask per day. My mother, my family members, totalitarian governments taking over. Increased crime due to panic. Society will collapse, fear of losing our income. The world economy will collapse. Geez, I really need to start tapping while I'm reading these. I'm getting all triggered. I was really happy before I began this call. I'm sick now, not getting a test. Isolating in one room feels pretty lonely. It does, Daniela. Daniela, also, let's, Seth, if we can lower everyone's hand, I'd appreciate that. Because I'm going to ask certain people to raise their hand. So we'll lower everyone's hands. And then Daniela, once everyone's hands are lowered, Daniela, if you can just raise your hand, I'd appreciate that so I can find you. Fear of not enough ventilators. Financial ruin, no control in general. Massive tension in the house as we were in isolation for 12 weeks. Mary, this can definitely help reduce the emotional temperature of your whole house, even if only you are tapping, no one else. Breakdown of our economic and health systems. Dying in his sleep. Everyone who helps me will get sick. Our baby getting sick. Dying before my children. Rebecca says, how healing to share this. I mean, I'm almost in tears reading these things. I'm just so grateful to people for sharing with us. It just means a lot to me to have you open your heart and just say what your worst fear is. Lisa, all of the above. Oh, carry mandatory untested vaccines. My daughter's pregnant due in 3 weeks. We'll contract it in Adelaide. Okay, the global South, even worse than the rich North. Decreased savings and retirement. Fear, this is the new normal. It's an unknown. All the refugees in the world. Fear that we won't learn from this experience as a human race. My brother who is starting cancer treatment. Afraid we are being lied to. Fear that I will do something wrong. Okay, well, there are more than 100 messages I haven't read so far, but I think that's enough to start with. So let's again center ourselves, take a breath. And then start by tapping on the psychological reversal point. If you're new to EFT, this is the point we tap on the most because it's the correction point for our energy system. And if our energy system is reversed, if our polarity is reversed, then it needs to be corrected. This is the correction point. So we start there, tap with 3 fingers right below this knuckle of your little finger. And just say out loud, even though there's an overwhelming amount to be afraid of, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I don't know what the future will bring, I'm breathing now. I'm alive now. My body is functioning now. Even though this may be one of the most terrifying eras ever in human history, I have survived so far. And the chances are good that I will survive all the way through. Tap on the top of your head, say, I've survived so far. Eyebrow points, I've survived so far. Side of the eye, I've survived so far. Stomach meridian under the pupil of the eye, I've survived so far. Governing meridian under the nose, I've survived so far. Central meridian, I've survived so far. Collarbone, kidney meridian. I'm breathing. Under your arms, about 4 inches below the armpit. I'm breathing right now. Back to the side of the hand point, and even say out loud, and even though I don't know what the future will bring, I've survived so far. I'm safe from immediate physical threats. Even though there's so much to be afraid of. Every one of my fears are real. These bad things could really happen. And I'm breathing now. Top of the head, even though these bad things could really happen, bladder meridian, eyebrow, I'm breathing now. Gallbladder meridian, side of eye, I'm breathing now. Under your eye. These bad things might happen. And I'm breathing now. Tap under your nose. The worst could happen. Chin, central meridian. The best could happen. Kidney meridian, and I'm breathing now. Underarm. The worst could happen. Side of hand, and I'm breathing now. I've come through a lot of crises before. I've come through some big financial crises. I've come through some huge emotional crises. I've come through some enormous life crises. And I have survived every one of them. And while I have all these fears, of not surviving this one, I have survived these previous crises. All these fears. 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 Oh, all these fears. I don't know how you felt, but like that last bit of tapping, that's a primary point for high emotion and fear. So is the stomach meridian over here. And so that I felt a huge, huge big shift. So let's talk about some of the fears generally and specifically. Let's tap on them as we do it. So say I have fears for myself. I have fears for my own survival. And even though I have fears for my own survival, I'm safe now. I'm breathing now. And I survived all these previous challenges. Fears for my own survival. 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 Fears of me surviving. Fears for my own survival. Let's get a little bit more dramatic over here. Let's now say fears of me dying. I'm afraid I might die, and not of old age. The virus might get me. The chaos might get me. The economic collapse might get me. And even though the virus might get me, it hasn't got me yet. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. The virus might get me. I might die. The virus might get me and take me to an early death. The virus might not get me. Because after all, I've survived all these other problems. And it's pretty likely I'll survive this one too. But it might get me. The virus might or might not get me. And even though the virus might get me, at least so far I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm breathing. And I give thanks for being alive. I've made it this far through the crisis. And the odds are pretty good I'll make it all the way through. So although I'm afraid of dying, when I look at it objectively and see all the other crises I've managed to get through, I'll probably get through this one too. I might die, but the chances are really small. And I'm breathing now, and I've survived so far. So you just feel all that energy shedding and all that dark, heavy energy of fear of your own survival vanishing and going away. Just wonderful how this can make us feel and shift. So let's just take a few deep breaths and cement these new energy realities into our bodies and our minds. Now I'd like to do one round of eye movements, and many of you know the 9 gamut technique. If you don't, it's very simple. You tap on this point over here. We'll do the short form of the 9 gamut, and you tap on this point over here on the triple warmer meridian, which runs right in this groove here. And what you do while you're tapping on the gamut point is you move your eyes in a big circle all the way around. So I'll do it for you so you can see. And the easiest way, if you don't know the 9 gamut already, is to imagine you're looking at the hands, the hour hands of an enormous clock, which is right in front of your face. So picture a clock in front of your face, and you're watching as it goes to 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you see how my eyes are moving in a big circle like that. You don't need to move your hands to guide you like that because you'll be tapping with your hands. But here I'll do it just without picturing the clock face. So I'm just going to raise my eyes to the ceiling and then slowly move them all the way around at the very edge of my peripheral vision. Keep on going. You'll notice I'm keeping my head as still as I can. I'm not moving my head once. I'm not moving my head around like this. I'm moving only my eyes. So that's how we do it. We'll do one round of the 9 gamut, and it looks weird, but there's a ton of science behind this, and essentially it puts your brain into theta and delta, and theta is the wave you're in rapid eye movement sleep. So essentially when you're asleep, you're in delta for roughly an hour or 90 minutes. Then you go to theta for a few minutes. You have rapid eye movements. You have vivid dreams in theta. Your brain then drops down into the slowest brainwave of delta. That's deep sleep. During deep sleep, you are doing pruning of old neural circuits, including fear circuits. And so when your eyes are moving around like this, you're reenacting rapid eye movement sleep, which is the phase of sleep where you're in theta and your memory and learning capacity in your brain is fully active. All of those circuits are active in theta, and you're making and consolidating new memories. So it looks weird. It's just a technique from energy psychology, phenomenally effective because it echoes that pruning and that neurogenesis process we do naturally during sleep. So we use this to help ourselves with reconsolidating old memories and old fears. So tap on the back of your hand here. Look up like you're looking at 12 on a giant clock. Then slowly move your eyes all the way around. Say out loud, I might die. I probably won't die, but I might die. Keep your eyes moving, keep going in the same direction, keep breathing. And then reverse the direction of travel of your eyes in the opposite direction. I might die. I might not die. I might die. I might not die. I've survived worse, and I've lived through it. Okay, I is in the opposite direction. I've lived through worse, and I've survived. I might die. The virus might get me, but it probably won't. Okay, stop moving your eyes, stop tapping, take a deep breath. You'll probably feel some kind of shift in your body, a somatic shift, as your energy system resets and your brain starts to process information differently. Again, there's oodles of science behind all of that, but this is not the place for me to share it with you. If you want to read about the 9 gamut, it's in the EFT manual, 4th edition. There's a whole chapter called Tapping on Your Brain. You can read all about the 9 gamut and about delta and theta and eye movements and memory reconsolidation there. But this particular webinar is focused on actually tapping and shifting ourselves. Okay, so tune into your body now and think about your fear of dying and compare it to your fear of dying 10 minutes ago. And the chances are your numbers have dropped. So if you had a, say, a 10 out of 10 fear of dying 5 minutes ago, now it's probably down to a lower number, maybe a 3, maybe a 5, maybe a 0. So we monitor how we're shifting in this way. Now we'll do some tapping on other people, especially those we love. So tap on your correction point, psychological reversal point. Say out loud, if I'm realistic, I realize I probably won't die, but other people I love might die. People in my family might die, and I'll have no control over that. So maybe, just maybe, I will live because I'm alive now, but others might die. And even though others might die, I tune into me, and I'm grateful for being alive. Even though others might die, I'm breathing now. I have this fear that others might die. People close to me might die. People I care about might die. And I'm breathing now. And everything might just turn out fine. They might die. They probably won't die. Like all my other fears, this one is probably groundless. But I still have this fear that others might die. Top of your head, others might die. People I love might die. I won't be able to stop them dying. They won't be there anymore. I have no control over them dying. They might die. They might not die, but they might not be there anymore. And whether or not they die, I'm breathing right now. Just feel yourself breathing. Breathe deeply. Feel the breath coming in and out. And I'm grateful for my breath. My breath is always there for me, whether or not they die. Let's tap on the element of them dying that you have no control over whether they die, because you don't have any control over whether anyone lives or dies. You are not the Almighty, and you can't decide whether people live or die. People die, some people live. So let's tap on that lack of control. Also, you'll see that I'm tapping sometimes on my right side, on my left side, with both hands, with one hand. Any of those is fine. You can tap either both sides or one side, whichever feels best to you, or alternate sides if you like to. I have no control over who lives and dies. I might want people to live, and then they die. And all my wanting them to live cannot make them not die. All my desire that they live cannot keep them alive. It's out of my control. Some will live and some will die. It's totally out of my control. And that's really hard. That's really hard. Because I so want them to live. And all my wanting can't keep them here, and they might die. Now, they might not die. The rate of death for the coronavirus is only about 1%. So they actually have a 99% chance of living. Of those people that die, almost 100% of them have another illness already. And hardly anyone who doesn't have another serious illness does die. I know this intellectually, and it's still hard. Knowing that people I love may die. People I love may die. People I love may die. And all my wanting them to live can't change the outcome. They may still die, even though I want them to live. It's out of my control. And that's really hard. Okay, we'll do the gamut on that. So tap the back of your hand. Keep your head steady. Look up. Eyes in a great big circle all the way around. Others may die. They may not die. Statistically, they're highly unlikely to die. But some will die, and that's out of my control. I wish it were not out of my control, but it is out of my control. And I'm breathing, and I'm alive right now. Eyes in the opposite direction, all the way around. People live. People die. Who lives and dies is completely out of my control. Completely out of my control. Who lives and dies. And that's hard. Okay, stop tapping, take a breath. So just compare how you were triggered about that earlier. I got very triggered about that. I can see a lot of people crying A lot of people were very triggered by the idea of other people dying, people they love dying. It's out of your control. And so tune into yourself and see if that shifted for you now. It probably has shifted for you. I see people moving around more easily. I see people yawning and just getting freer in their bodies than they were before. So that's good to see those kinds of shifts happening in people. Okay, so we've worked on our own personal fears. We worked on fears of others. The next thing we'll work on is financial fears, because people have all these fears about their retirement funds going down. I know I looked at my retirement fund on whatever it was a week ago and was like, wow, it just half of it vanished. What happened there? So you could have looked at that and you could have got really upset and depressed. And I was for about 10 minutes. Then I tapped and I felt fine again. So didn't change the numbers. My retirement fund was still down by half, but I felt totally different after I tapped. So we'll tap now on financial fears. Say out loud, there's financial chaos in the world right now. And I'm breathing. I may have lost money, but I've survived. I've survived other financial disasters. I'll probably survive this one too. I'm safe and I'm breathing, despite the financial disaster. The financial disaster. The financial disaster. The financial disaster. Causing so much economic chaos. It's a scary time. Who knows if governments are doing the right thing? Maybe they'll make it worse. I don't know who to trust. Through the financial chaos. And even though there's all this financial chaos, I'm breathing. I'm okay. Now, I'd like you to picture an image of financial chaos. So if there was financial chaos, what would it look like? My image is looking at my retirement account, and it's like, here's June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It's like, I didn't know it could go that low. And then I looked again a day later, it went lower. Well, I thought, well, surely it can't get any lower than that. And it did, and it got lower still. It's like, whoa, I don't look anymore. So that's my image, as I can see this really nice, looks like a tabletop, nice flat plateau, the number and retirement account, something, it just disappeared. So I can't believe it. I'm telling you this with such emotional neutrality. Obviously, I tapped on it and I felt neutral and actually went and made some more investments today without any fear at all, just looking at various economic criteria and able to make sound, impartial investments again. So it's really powerful to remove the fear. So we'll tap again on your image. So your image might not be that. It might be wolves wandering in the streets and, through the broken remains of Macy's in New York with all the windows smashed and weeds growing in the mannequins. Might be some kind of apocalyptic vision like that. So I'll leave you to cook up your own suitably dramatic image of financial chaos and decay, and we'll tap on whatever it might be. So tap over here and say, I have this image in my head of financial chaos. And even though I have this image, and even though it's scary, I'm safe now. I'm breathing. I made it through past disasters. I'm safe now. This image of financial disaster. 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 And vividly imagine it again right now, this image. Financial disaster. Bad things happening. I'm completely safe right now. I'm breathing. I'm alive. Despite this image of financial disaster. Okay, one more round of the gamut procedure. So tap on the back of your hand. Eyes in a big circle all the way around. Financial disaster. Financial disaster. Reverse your eyes, keeping your head steady, keep breathing. Financial disaster. Financial disaster. And even though I have this image of financial disaster, I survived previous disasters, I'll probably survive this one too. Eyes in the opposite direction. I survived previous disasters. I'll probably survive this one too. Stop tapping, take a breath, and tune into your body. How big is your degree of triggering? The chances are it's gone way, way, way down. Just type into chat over here what your initial number was and your second number was after the round of tapping. So if it was, say, your fear of financial disaster, 72, okay? So 0, great. 8 to 4, 9 to 1, 9 to 2, 6 to 2, 10 to 3, 8 to 2, 5 to 1, 8 to 0, gone. Okay, 6 to 0, 8 to 2. Went from weeping to laughing. We do laugh because these are such groundless fears for the most part. So we can laugh at them after a while. 0, 5 to 1, 10 to 5, 8 to 3. So Rose, 10 to 5, just do it again. Just keep on tapping, keep on doing the 9 gamut. The chances are your number will go down. More tapping into fears I didn't know I had. Lynn, really good point. Write those down and tap on them later. Cynthia, after I cry, my body feels like releases tension. Natalie, you're infectious. This is called positive emotional contagion. We can be agents of positive emotional contagion to everyone around us. My vision was a tangled ball of yarn is now neatly wound. Okay, so let's go from there to hooking you up with a practitioner. And the way this whole project came about was I had a vision like 20 years ago for a network, a global network of drop-in EFT centers. And the reason I wanted to have a drop-in center was that I went to a chiropractor to take care of my lower back. And it was a kind of a procedure. I'd have lower back pain. I'd phone his office. The receptionist would say, okay, he has an appointment next Tuesday at 5, and it'll cost you $100. So I show up next Tuesday at 5. But next Tuesday at 5, my back pain was gone. I didn't really want an appointment next Tuesday at 5. I wanted an appointment right now when I had back pain. And therapy is the same way. Psychotherapy is the same way. You're in this big agony, and then you make an appointment, but your therapist only has a booking 2 weeks from now. Well, you aren't suffering 2 weeks from now. You're suffering right now. If you're in a marriage, or if you have a child and you're having a conflict and you want to resolve it, it's no good trying to make an appointment with a therapist a long time, or a coach a long time from now. So I then went to a chiropractor. I switched to a different chiropractor, and he had a drop-in practice. So when you were in pain, you just showed up at his office, you paid $35, and you got a quickie adjustment. That's all I needed, and it was when I needed it. And so I thought, imagine if we had these EFT centers all over the world where people could just walk in and get EFT when they needed it. So that person who's really having a panic attack over the virus, that person who's really worried, but they look at their financial statement of their retirement account and it's dropped by a half, that's when they need help right then and there. And my vision was to create this network of global offices. Well, then along came technology. And so we then spent 3.5 years building it, but virtual. So all of the practitioners on there are certified practitioners. They are certified by EFT Universe. They're experts. They know what they're doing. And we are now going to show you quickly how to set up your own account and get a free 10-minute session with a practitioner on that site, one-to-one, using video conferencing anytime you like. And so Seth, let's go ahead and share our screens. I'm just looking at some of the wonderful comments in there. So Seth, who is our wonderful host over here, and I want you now to open a browser window, everyone on the call, to do this, because you get a free 10-minute session once you set up your account. And so open a browser window, which works on any browser, Chrome, Opera, Safari, whatever you might be using. And I want you to just type in tappingplace.com. So here is what it looks like. Seth is sharing his screen with everyone. And here's how you set up your account. So first of all, we'll play this little video, 3 minutes long, showing you how to do it. And then we'll all set up our accounts together. And I'll actually do a session with a practitioner live right now with you, the way you would when you need help. Okay, so go ahead and hit play, Seth. Okay, so here's a person's cursor. She has hit sign up or start here. You fill in these fields, username, password, obvious stuff. Really important, we have your emergency contact name. You need to know who to get in touch with in case you need professional help. So again, it took 3 minutes for this person to set up a new account. That's how fast it is to set up your new account, after which you will have your own Tapping Place account and you can get a free session. So phone number, your emergency contact number. Okay, you then hit register down here. And bingo, you now have 10 free minutes, a 10-minute session, and you can go and find a practitioner. This is your client dashboard. Later on, you can go and fill in more information on your intake form, like things like whether we can get in touch with you at work or not, more about your demographics, where you live, so we know your time zone and so on. But you can leave that for later. So we want you to be able to get into the tapping place really quickly and then set up your account and get your first session. After it's set up, you just log on onto tapping place anytime and do a session with a practitioner. So how much pain you're in. If you're in pain now, we're showing that. Where your pain is. We want to know if you've been diagnosed with MS or fibromyalgia or any medical diagnoses. We want to know if you had a history of family violence as a child that can be triggered by current events that look like those old childhood events, what other healing modalities you're using, and then why you're seeking coaching from a coach or therapist on tapping place. And so this whole thing, start to finish, this whole little movie that Seth just showed us, it took this person to do the whole thing, agree to our terms of service. It took a total of 3 minutes. It's just that fast. And then you're in your account. So Seth, you can go ahead and let me be co-host now, and I'll literally, in real time, walk everyone through setting up your own free account on Tapping Place. So I'm going to open a browser. And I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Oh, almost shared the wrong file. I almost shared my to-do list. And believe me, my to-do list is a truly terrifying document. Every day, I have to tap before I can even look at it. So I definitely don't want to show you my to-do list. It's also about 10 pages long. So, so let's open a new browser window here. And I'm going to take you through this slowly to give you time to do it yourself. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen here with everyone. And I'm on Tapping Place, and look at these beautiful faces here. These are all certified practitioners, and they are literally available to tap with you right this very moment, okay? But I don't have an account yet, so I'm going to sign up. Button. So open your browser and do that right now. Click on sign up. Okay, so I'm not going to use Dawson Church. I'm going to use client 7. I'm going to make up a password. I'm going to type in my email, energypsychologypress@gmail.com. I'm going to call myself your name. Let's see, Bond, James Bond. That guy seriously needs therapy. If you watch any of the movies, I'm sorry. Okay, so again, follow along here, and I'm going to give you a moment to do this yourself. So I shouldn't be making wise cracks. 899. We'll let him be 007. We'll make his emergency contact Moneypenny, who was worrying about James Bond. And again, just follow along here and create your own account with me as you're doing this. And Moneypenny we'll make her and again, I'm going to just pause here for a moment to make sure everyone has time to set up their own account. So just go ahead and follow along and do exactly that. And then I'm going to click on register. Okay. Oh, not enough password. Numbers. Okay, there we go. Register. Okay, so that username is already in use. So I'm going to sign in. Okay, let me just check on my password over here. Okay, I typed in my password wrongly, so I just thank you, Google Chrome, Sergey Brin. So now I'm in here into my account. I have a little less than 10 minutes because I already had an anxiety attack before this call. I was worried I wouldn't have enough bandwidth and the whole server would crash. So in fact, as I'm talking about this, I'm having all these feelings come up again. So I'm going to pick Tina Tran. She's one of our certified energy psychology practitioners. And click on her. Here she is. Now, one thing I have to do here is I have to click on the camera icon because I have to explicitly give the browser permission to use my camera. You aren't just allowed to use, browser can't just use your camera without your permissions. You have to give your browser permission to use your camera. So I have to click on my camera icon. Tina.
Hello, welcome to the Tapping Place.
So good to see you.
Idea of service today.
Tina, there are hundreds of people watching us right now, and I'm having a panic attack because the server could crash. Okay, now you see me. I just clicked on my camera icon there. So Tina, I'm having a panic attack because there are hundreds of people on the call now, and what if the server crashes? What if I embarrass myself in front of hundreds of people all at the same time? Could happen. It's happened before.
Well,
Actually,
I'll be right there with you.
oh. So help me.
All right. You know the process. There's no need for me to explain it to you, but as a practitioner, I still need to caution that if for people who are watching, if you have been touching things and you feel safer not to touch your face, then by all means, there are other points that we can use, but otherwise, we would start on the side of the hand and tap through the points on the basic points that you have been shown to do.
Okay.
And as in any session, can you tell me how intense is your fear of having a panic attack right here, right now, between 1 and 10? And where do you feel it in your body?
Okay, so it's about a 6 because there are a lot of people on the call and the server could go down, and it's in the pit of my stomach feels like I have a black ball in the pit of my stomach. It's about a 6.
All right. Does it have a beside the color and the shape, is there any other texture to it? Like, does it feel like it's rough? Does it feel like it's smooth? Does it feel like it's sharp?
Yeah, it feels like it's spiky, like a kind of a pine cone, dark, like a dark pine cone. Yeah.
All right. Let's start on the side of the hand.
Okay.
Even though
Even though
I have this dark spiky pine cone.
I have this dark, spiky pine cone.
That is a 6.
That is a 6.
I am open
I am open
to acknowledge it as it is
to acknowledge it as it is
and to find a way to lessen this intensity that I feel.
and to find a way to lessen this intensity that I feel.
And I deeply and completely accept myself as I am right here, right now.
And I deeply and completely accept myself as I am right here, right now.
All right, let's do it a couple more times. Even though I feel a black dark cone,
I feel a black, dark, spiky pine cone.
and it's at a 6.
And it's at a 6.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself. And actually, as we've been tapping, Tina, it's turned into more like an orange pineapple. It's gone down to about a 3. So it's really interesting that, yeah, the image has changed. It's still the same shape. It's not a pine cone, it's a pineapple. It's orange. It's gone down to about a 3 already. So
Fantastic. So it feels like it still have a rough texture.
yes,
right? Because of the pineapple, it's not a smooth fruit.
right.
So even though what I feel had changed to an orange pineapple,
what I feel has changed to an orange pineapple.
and it's down to a 6.
It's down to about a
Down to a 3. I'm
down
sorry.
to a 3,
Down
yeah.
to a 3.
Down to a 3.
I am open
I am open
to bring it down to a 0.
to bring it down. I really am seriously open to bringing it down to a 0. Yes.
So that I can move on with my life,
So that I can move on with my life,
feeling peaceful.
feeling peaceful. Yes, that's what I want.
All right. One more time.
Even though
what I feel in my body
what I feel in my body
has come down from a 6 to a 3
has come down from a 6 to a 3,
and has changed its color and shape
has changed its color and shape
to an orange pineapple.
to an orange pineapple.
I'm open to find a way
I'm open to find a way
to completely let it go
to completely let it go
so that I can feel peaceful
so that I can feel peaceful
moving on with my life.
moving on with my life. And actually that time round, Tina, it turned into like a little white pineapple, much smaller and maybe down to 1.5. And it has little bubbles inside it. I don't know what that means, but it has little bubbles inside it as well.
All right. Then let's move on to our first statement and see where it goes.
Okay.
Even though what I feel has once again
as what?
Has once again
Has once again changed
to a white pineapple.
To a white pineapple.
It's still pineapple.
Still a pineapple.
But it has a bubble.
And it has bubbles.
It's low enough.
It's low enough.
That I'm willing to burst it.
That I'm willing to burst it. Oh, I love it. That's so funny. It's so fun. Now, Tina, I'm going to talk to the audience here for a moment. Okay, so that was great. It did burst. Thank you. So, if you're watching here now, I only have 80 85 seconds left over here. Would you like to add more time? So once you finish your free session, you can go ahead and buy more time or add more time, and then that stays in your account. And so whenever you log on, you can see how much time is left in your account, then add more time if you'd like to, and use that time with the same practitioner or another practitioner. Tina, I'm so grateful to you for your work, who you are as a person, the amazing work you do with clients, and for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've been for me.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end our chat over here just by clicking on end chat with only 7 seconds remaining over here. And so now I can go back to the practitioners over here, and I can also go back to my account, and I can go to my dashboard, and I can view my account, and I can pick someone else if I'd like to. And so now you've just created your account. We also have all these practitioners, and when they say they're available for session, they are available right now. So I want you to jump in there and go have a session with somebody. Here's someone's already chatting with Christy over here. If there probably are not enough practitioners right now for you available, but you can email people over here by clicking on email, and then just say, I'd like to book a session with you in the future. And then when you come back to your Tapping Place account, Lindsay will have emailed you back. So I'm going to send, okay, right here. Send message. That's what you'll do if you're in your dashboard over here and there's no one available to work with you. So again, it's been a real pleasure to do this with you. I want to encourage you to just jump in right now, use those practitioners who are online. They would love to work with you. It's our privilege to help people through these dark times. I have to tell you, I am incredibly optimistic and confident. I don't have a moment's doubt at all that we will emerge through this. This is a time when this global calamity is focusing human mindfulness and attention on being well, on being kind, on being loving, on being connected in a way which no disaster has done for a long, long time. And it's affecting the whole world. It's not like a world war where only a few, there are nations pitted against nations. This is everybody being affected by this. So I am so confident we will emerge from this and we will have learned huge lessons as a human species. So with that, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for being on the call. And again, right now, dive in and do your Tapping Place session with your client, with your practitioner, with those 3 minutes. They're there for you, and they'll tap with you specifically on whatever remains. If there's anything left from the call, like if you're still worried about a relative, still worried about money, still worried about something in particular, go ahead and write that down and bring it into the session right now. Okay, that's your homework. In the next while, just jump in and have your session. Bless you. Thank you. Let's take one more breath as we end the call. Just picture this same circle of love and connection and energy with which we began the call. It's always there for you every day, whether you know it or not. Thank you. Thank you. Hmm.